Welcome back, everybody. So today, because we are starting our small batch series, I put out the brew day for the Amarillo Smash all grain beer. I also wanted to go over the hops that we will be using in all these. So because the first one was the Amarillo, I wanted to go over that, but I think we need a little bit of a background. I don't want to go too deep into this. I just want to scratch the surface, as I know we could be here for hours and hours on this. So usually when you go to your homebrew store or get a package of hop pellets online, most of the time or every time you will see an alpha acid percentage, and sometimes you will see a beta alpha percentage. Now, sometimes you won't see the beta, but you will see the alpha all the time. So, what does that mean? Well, if we look at it, the alpha acids are in the flowers of the hop, and depending on when you put them in the boil will depend on how much bitterness you get out of them. If you put them early in the boil, you're going to get more bitterness out of that hop, and that percentage is by weight of the package. I don't know how accurate it is, but from what I did read online and what I know, it's just a percentage on that package. So if you go to your local homebrew store, you might want to look at the package to see if the alpha acids are the same on the packages you're buying. We will switch over to Beersmith and kind of go over what happens if you get a package that has 1% and a package that has another percent. But for the most part, they will determine how many IBUs are put into that beer. And like I said, if you put them in at 60 minutes in the boil, it's going to let off more bitterness than if you put them in at 30 or at 5 or at 1. I am looking at some of my notes here. So when alpha acids are dissolved, it's immediately in the solution that it starts. Where the beta acids are a little bit different. They are more for storing and aging that they will start coming off. So if you have a low alpha hop and a low beta hop, they could kind of, let's say, mirror each other, where the alpha acids after you bottle start going down some, the beta acids could start going up. Now, usually it's a 2-to-1 ratio on most stuff, but it doesn't have to be. Most of the time, if you are into IPAs, you'll notice drink fresh by 3 months, drink as fresh as you can, because those IBUs or bitterness units will start dropping over time, and once they get past a certain date, they will fall out. Now, you will notice if you check your packages on like a stout, the beta might be a little bit higher, because your whatever you use in the boil will start falling off your alpha acids. Then your beta acids could take over in aging to give you that balanced stout, a year or two down the road. So our alpha acids put IBUs into the beer quickly, and that's what you get in like an IPA or really any beer, even a stout, a porter. But the beta acids will take over during aging, and they start letting off their acids and maybe keep the IBUs up a little bit. Now, is it going to be perfect? No. If you had a 2-to-1 ratio of alpha to beta, and if you're thinking that, I'll add more beta just to make my IPA stronger in IBUs down the line, good luck with that, because your alpha and your beta are in all hops, and trying to find a beta that is like 13% and an alpha that is 2%, good luck trying to find that. So Again, I didn't want to go over very much, but I hope that helps give you a little insight into what they are. Most of the time, you will see the alpha acids listed because that's what we want to control the most of. Dry hopping is a whole different beast. There are some people out there that say once the temperature of your wort gets below say 80, that you are not putting IBUs into the beer anymore. If you dry hop, you're not putting any. I don't want to really get into that discussion because I've never tested it. I'm not a scientist. I have no clue. But some of the stuff that I have been reading on dry hopping, what it seems like to me in the stuff I've read, if you have a lower IBU beer and you do dry hop, it might come out as more bitterness in that low IBU beer. But it's the opposite if it's a higher IBU beer. So if you have a higher IBU beer and you put massive dry hops, it might seem less bitter just because those IBUs are already high, where if the IBUs are low and you're adding this dry hop, it might be perceived as more or a higher bitterness than, say, 30 IBUs. Also, dry hopping does increase the pH in the beer, which could come across as more bitter. So keep that in mind if you're making a lower IBU beer. Now, in saying that, does that mean we need IBUs on the bottle? That's up to you to decide. Again, I don't want to get into too much because, again, we could be here for days. But the formula for IBUs on a beer came out in 1967 when they weren't dry hopping beers, and now almost every single IPA is dry hopped. People are saying that we do not need IBUs on the beer. We need to come up with a new scale because of all this dry hopping and perceived IBUs and all that. But our main focus today is Amarillo hops, and I do have some notes. Sometimes on the package, it'll say bittering hops or aroma hops or dual purpose hops. Looking at my notes, if it is a bittering hop, they are mainly used at the beginning of the boil. A higher alpha acid, so that way it puts in more IBUs. So like your Warrior would be a higher alpha hop, and 95% of the time you would see like Warrior used at the beginning of the boil and not at the end because of all or the high alpha acid of hop. Aroma hops are used later in the boil. That could be your Centennial, your Citra, your Simcoe, Galaxy. Also, you have dual purpose hops. Now, these are hops that are used for both bittering and aroma. You will have to play around with them because something like Citra, if you do use too much at 60 minutes, you could have cat pee. Just saying. So you have to watch out and you have to really know what you're doing or test all these to see what you like best. But okay, let's get into the Amarillo. So my Amarillo that I used on my small batch brew day was 10.3% alpha acids. Now this is a dual hop, and of course I don't have it up, so I will have to get back in it. Okay, we're back. So Amarillo, from what I know, it's almost a supercharged version of Cascade. It is a dual purpose hop. Flavor profile is floral, tropical, and citrus. That citrus is more lemon, orange, and grapefruit. Orange character is the biggest characteristic. Alpha acid is between 8 and 11, and beta is between 6 and 7. Now that's what I got online. your palate might be different, so you might get something a little different out of that hop than anybody else. But again, I did do a brew day on this, so we are going to see at least what I get. And I would suggest, if you are a home brewer, you think about doing something like this if you have not, just to see what you get out of hops. You might have a different preference than somebody else. So let's go over here and check out Beersmith and see what we can do, or what happens if you're off on your alpha acid. So here I do have a new recipe brought up in Beersmith. A lot of this isn't going to really matter. We're going to do an all grain. My pot doesn't really matter. We are going to put this on IPA. If I can hit the right buttons, we'll just go ahead and do an American IPA. 4 grains, we are just going to do 2-row, because again, it really doesn't matter. We'll just do raw. We're going to do 10 pounds. So say this is your base beer, and now we're going to add the hops. So if we put in Amarillo here, the default is 9.2%, which we're going to keep. Boil time, we'll just go ahead and set this for 30 minutes. Okay, so that's in there. We're going to go ahead and add it again at 5 minutes. There we go. For our mash, let's just go ahead and check that out and see. So it's got us at 150. That's fine. So again, this isn't a true recipe. I just want to show you guys what happened. So right now, with the 9.2% in there, we are showing that if we ran this beer right now, it would come out at 27.9 IBUs. So now if we add it one more time and we set it as a dry hop, 1 ounce hop, we'll just put 3 days. So we're at 27.9. And if we take that off there, we'll delete, we're at 27.9. So Beersmith is showing that if you add dry hops like we talked about last time, that it is not going to put any IBUs into that beer. Now this beer might feel or taste like it's a higher bitterness because we are low on IBUs. Is that true for you? I don't know if it's true for me, because I've never made a beer like this without dry hop, then made one with dry hop. Now maybe that's something we will do. But again, right now we're at 27.9, but our alpha acid is at 9.2, where I said our package, the one that I used in the smash beer, was 10.3. So let's click on these, and this is something I do think you need to do. You can make your recipe ahead of time, but I really think once you go buy those hops, if you do not have them yet, you need to come in here and switch the alpha acid once you know what it is. Because if we're looking for a certain bitterness, it could change because our alpha acid content is not the same. So let's go ahead and do this at 10.3. And let's do this one at 10.3. So we were at 27.9. Now we are at 31.2. So you can see it does change depending on the alpha acid percentage. Now, if we wanted to keep this at 29.7, we might have to come change how much we use, in the boil. So if that was 1 ounce, let's just try 0.75. So that gets us down to 25, so that is way too much. So maybe 0.95. So that's 30. So let's see if we put this at 0.95. So there's 29. So we need to go down just a little bit more. Let's try that and let's try 0.9. So it's up to you if you want to get it perfect, but you can see we're 0.2 ounces down now to stick with the same IBUs. So if you have a favorite beer, IPA, let's say, that you make year after year or month after month, and you go to the store and you keep buying different bags or different pellet hops, and that alpha keeps changing, you could have a different beer each time. Now, are you going to be able to tell 1 or 2 IBU units? I don't know. That's going to be on your palate. But if we were to make a bigger beer, let's just say right now we add Warrior to this, and that's at 15. Let's say we put an ounce. That kicks us up to 95. Now, let's say we are a lot lower. Say we're at the bottom of the scale. Let's just say the bottom of the scale is 11 alpha. And if we had 11 alpha, we would be at 77.3. So that's a big drop in IBU units if you wanted the same Warrior at 15. If you went to the store, you got it and it was 15, then the next time you went back and you had it and it was at 11, that's a big difference. That's 20 IBUs less in this second batch of beer. So make sure that you are using this to make sure your IBUs are coming out the same, or that you get an accurate reading on this scale. We're not going to go over this every time, but I just wanted to go over it with the Amarillo to tell you what was in that hop and what we might get. We will cover a little bit of this once we have the tasting, just to see if we are picking out those flavors. But as far as Amarillo goes, it is a good hop. If you're into that citrus, like it said, orange is the main character you'll get, but you could get a little bit of floral. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you did, thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring that bell. And until next time, happy brewing.